Adding text to your embroidery projects is a great way to make a unique gift or something fun for your home. Maybe your friend is having a baby or getting married and you want to make them a gift with their name and a date on it. Or maybe you just want to add a funny saying to something that will make you laugh when you see it in your house. To get the text on there, you can sketch directly onto the felt, but it's a little tricky to get the placement just right. You do have a few different pieces, and if it doesn't work, you can flip it over and try again. But another option is to draw it on paper and then transfer it onto the felt by using a sharp pencil to poke holes through the paper, and then you just kind of twirl the pencil around a bit to make these dots, and then you connect the dots. You can sketch out your text, or if you have a printer at home, you can also print the text and use the same method to draw it onto the felt. Once you've got the text on there, you need to decide what stitch you'd like to use. I recommend trying out a few stitches on your extra fabric to see which ones you like best, and to also decide how many threads you want to use to create thick or thin lines. If you're doing big initials, you could use all 6 strands, but if you have a lot of text or you want it to be quite delicate, I'd recommend 2 or 3 strands. Let's see what the date looks like in backstitch. First, I'm going to do the whole number 2 here. And then to make it a little bit fancier, the oldest trick in the book to make lettering look good is to go over some of the lines again to create thick and thin lines, like this. So I'm going to do a second line of backstitch on one side of each number. And I'll repeat that process for the whole date. Another stitch that I like to use for text, especially cursive text, is chain stitch. Chain stitch is a bit thicker than backstitch, so you want to use fewer threads. I've got 3 threads here instead of 6. It's also a little time consuming, so use chain stitch for a really special gift. And to follow the curves nicely, I keep my stitches quite close together. Here they're about 2 millimeters apart. The other thing you want to think about when working with chain stitch is where you start and stop your line. If you can, it's best to avoid changing threads mid-line because it's kind of a pain to change threads, but you can do it. I'll show you how. You just keep the loop on the top of the fabric with your old thread, and then you start a new thread and you bring it up underneath the loop and catch it, and then you go back to the other side and finish off the end of your first thread, and you make sure that you're not pulling too tight to make that loop disappear. When doing cursive and chain stitch, when I get to a line like this, I just keep stitching and go straight over top of it, just like you would if you were writing the word with a pen. And then when I meet this line, I'm going to end my thread, or end my line. So those are the first 2 letters, and whenever I'm working cursive in chain stitch, I always think about, when I'm drawing this text with my pen, that's when I stop the line, and then I do another line like this, and then another line like this. So whenever you pick up your pencil, so this is one movement with the pencil, that's a second movement with the pencil, that's a third movement with the pencil, and then that. So that's kind of where your threads end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you don't have to, cut and start new threads for each of those 5 lines, but that just tells you kind of where to start and stop your lines when you're stitching. So here's the finished text here. You can also add some leaves and flowers around the text if you like. Once you're happy with it, and once you've stitched both sides of the heart, you're ready to put it all together with stuffing and a little ribbon so it will hang.